Well, hello and welcome to the Rusty and Jan Show. We're so excited to air our first episode with Philly Cam.
In this month episode, we'll talk with David and Jenny Heitler-Klevans of Two of a Kind.
Well, they are two of a kind, aren't they?
That's right, they are.
They really are. And then we'll feature a song by our good friend Joe Fanning.
And we'll talk about what it's like to attend a virtual music festival in our Going Out segment.
It was truly a unique experience.
Absolutely.
And of course, we'll perform a few songs for you.
And have you done your vocal warm-up yet, Rusty?
I'm almost warmed up for you, baby.
Alrighty then. So, if you're ready...
I think I'm ready for the Rusty and Jan Show. When the world comes crashing down on us, you're always there, and you're always happy company because you care, oh yes you care, and when we need to talk out pain, well no one else will do. Dial the phone or go on Zoom, thank God there are friends like you. I said thank God there are friends like you. This month will feature a song by Joe Fanning.
I had the honor of accompanying him on this beautiful love song. This is called Goodbye.
I think it's A. Everybody loves a love song, right? At least I do. The winter snow started melting. Spring was coming, you had decided to go. And all my friends said, hey, just try to be patient. They never knew the wonders of you. And if they did, they'd be in love too. And I hang on day by day. In the end, things turn out the way they are supposed to. Flowers will soon be blooming. We planted them several years ago, but I will witness them here all by myself. If you were here, it would feel a lot like Christmas. Instead, every day feels like Halloween, and I hang on day by day. In the end, things turn out the way they are supposed to. Here comes Jan. Stars in the sky brightly shining. Winter wind has cooled me down. I stare at the moon and I'm thinking all about you. You drive up with your suitcases full of dreams. City life wasn't what you thought, so it seems, and I hang on day by day. In the end, things turn out the way they are supposed to. Thank you, Jan. That was good. That was good. Sweet.
This month's episode of Classically Speaking features one of our favorite composers, Johann Sebastian Bach, who was influential in the Baroque era.
We chose this song because it's one that played a really significant role in joining our diverse backgrounds together. I, of course, came from a folk music background, and Jan was classically trained on the flute. I think it kind of worked out, you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
This was one of the first compositions of this type that we learned together. It's called Air on a G String.
We had the pleasure of interviewing David and Jenny Heitler-Klevans. They are two of a kind.
And this is how it went.
So we have known this couple for a while. They've been very active activists and very hardworking in the Philadelphia community. And what a great team. They really exemplify how a couple can work together and really do some great stuff. So we're really, really glad to kick off our very first Rusty and Jan show at
WPPM,
and
Philly Cam,
yes,
with two of a kind.
Yes. Hi, guys.
Hi, thank you.
Hello.
Thanks for having us. We're honored to be
Oh,
here.
our pleasure.
Yeah, yeah. So you're the other husband and wife duo in the Philadelphia area. So how did,
Yeah,
of course, we cannot forget Steve and Jeanette
right. The
Pearlswick.
Pearlswigs. Can't
Right.
forget them.
There's actually
But
a number of us, I think, right? Number
I
of us
guess there
couples.
are,
Yeah, yeah.
but not as many as we're aware of. So we're glad that we're aware of you. Anyhow, so how did two of a kind come together?
Oh, well, we met in college, so quite a long time ago. We both went to Oberlin College. David was in the conservatory and I was in the college.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
we ate at the same food co-op and we started walking to an art history class that we were both in. That's how we
Mhm.
got to know each other.
And if you can
Okay.
think back to like what art history classes could be like in college, there's a lot of times where they turn the lights off and they show slides, and some of the teachers were better than others. So sometimes we joke that before we started dating, we slept together because of that experience.
I see. Now, did you start doing music right in college
We
together?
did. We did start in college. We didn't start immediately, but fairly soon after we got together. Actually, fairly soon after we got together, Jenny went off. She had already planned a year away in Denmark, and so our timing was not great. That we, started dating in May,
Yeah.
and then she was going to be gone the whole next year. So the first way we sang with each other actually was I made a tape of myself singing some songs, and Jenny played the tape and recorded into another tape recorder, very cheap multi-tracking, and added a harmony. So our first singing together was transatlantic and electronic.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
okay.
Long distance
Yeah.
relationship.
Well, you were streaming way back then.
Yeah.
What the heck? That's amazing stuff. Well, I have to tell you, we see different performers all the time, especially in the folk world. But to see anyone who's actively using their skills for community services and to make a better world, I don't know anyone in Philadelphia who does that better than you. I've always admired your children's programs.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we
yeah,
both have.
yeah, we had started out singing, mostly like folky things for adults, but I was a music teacher starting soon after college. I sort of
Uh,
fell into it. And that was really what put us on the path to switching over to mostly working with kids. And
I
we've
see.
been doing that now for like 30 years. And we really, really have enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, but you're also very involved in Voices Rising. Do I have that right?
Voices
Uh,
Rising Philly. Yep.
yeah, and it's very, very much an active, politically oriented, opinion-based program, and provides a lot of leadership. Have a lot of following as well. So I have to commend you for that as well.
Yeah,
I mean, what the heck? In
Voices
this,
Rising Philly started right after the Women's March, in
uh,
2017.
right.
And so we got involved with it, and we've been performing. The whole group has performed at many protests. In fact, we're doing one soon that's around voting rights.
Right. On Saturday.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
Wonderful.
That'll be
Make
long
sure
gone by the
you're
time this airs, but yeah.
well, okay. Yeah, but yeah, that's we'd love to see more about that kind of stuff. That's fantastic. So
Right. So getting back to the children's program, how did you get into that genre?
probably
Well,
has
so it,
good.
it really was through the teaching. I did not plan on being a music teacher, but I started teaching at the Friends School Haverford, and I discovered that I really loved making music with kids. Actually, these two things are very connected because when Jenny and I started doing folk music for adults, we were very activist oriented. We were very politically oriented, and we also were very much interested in interaction with the audience. And in the late 80s, those were two things in the folk community that were a little on the outs. Like there was it was
Yes.
sort of more
Right.
singer-songwriters. People didn't really want to sing along. People didn't really want all the politics. So when we discovered singing with kids, we realized actually the things we cared about the most, social justice and engagement, participation, were much more alive and well in the family music, children's music world. So that's part of why we gravitated to that for so much of our time.
Yeah. And where do you find that you do this programming, children's programming?
Well, we used to do it mostly in schools,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah, yeah.
libraries, and a lot of different things. It's a very varied thing. I mean, almost anybody who does music, as you know, it has to have a pretty varied bunch of things that they do.
Yeah.
But schools used to be our main thing, and unfortunately, even way before the shutdown, that was really in decline. Mostly more because of testing than because of funding, because there's certainly schools that don't have the money to bring in programs, but there's a lot of support for that sometimes from various or arts organizations. But a lot of schools, even if they have the money, they don't have the time in their day to bring in enrichment, and it's very frustrating.
Well, we also, so we had twins, we had
I
kids,
was going to ask you.
Uh-huh.
and
Yes.
prior to our having kids, and we called ourselves Two of a Kind. That was how we came up with the name, just because we had a lot of things in common with each other. And then 5 years later, we had our twins. Prior to having our twins, we each had jobs that we were working on, day jobs regularly. And then after we had our kids, we kind of wanted to spend more time with them. And so after a little while, we decided to go full time, and um, doing children's music actually worked out really well with that, because first of all, we got to go to really cool places that our kids liked, like toy stores and libraries and zoos and aquariums and children's museums. And so they came with us for like the first 3 years to like all of our concerts.
We think they saw us 1,000 times by the time they were like 3 or 3.5. So
And then
Wow.
and then we started getting babysitters, and then they went off to regular school. So
Well, they performed with you too, didn't
they
they?
did, yeah, when they got
yeah,
older, they did perform with us.
they
That's
really.
amazing.
Trip.
Yeah, so we did this cross country trip with our twins when they were about 10 years old, and that was really when they started performing with us. And it was really kind of out of preservation of their wits that we suggested it, because we thought, if you're just waiting around for mom and dad to do all these concerts all across the country, you're going to go crazy and probably start fighting with each other, and then we'll have to stop the performance. Anyway, it would be very unprofessional. So why don't you be part of the act? And luckily, they were happy to do that, and we were
Oh,
actually amazed at how quickly they learned to harmonize with us, because that was something.
really?
Well, look at their
Yeah.
parents.
Yes.
Look how
Well,
four-part harmony. It was
I'm
very
sorry.
cool.
yeah, it was really fun, and I actually once wrote a song about singing with them called "Family Harmony." It sort of
Oh,
traces
nice. Very
history of
nice.
singing in our family back to my grandfather, and et cetera. And it was actually one of the last songs my grandfather listened to before he died. It's a very,
Oh, wow.
very
That's wonderful.
So I'm thinking about this trip across the country with your kids. Can you estimate about how many times in your career you've had to sing "Wheels on the Bus"?
actually not that many.
You're a
We
little
sing
older
that
than
I
song.
heard that.
Yeah, we do sing that song. We don't do a huge amount of the old chestnuts. We do
Uh-huh.
it particularly when we're working with really little kids, because really little kids, they need a certain amount of familiar songs
Right.
through,
Right.
spread through.
Well,
Itsy bitsy.
I
Right.
teach
Itsy bitsy.
at some preschools, and so I will do that song sometimes for the youngest.
Sure.
In fact, actually, I had an older child, older as in like a 5-year-old, who was like, "Can we do Wheels on the Bus?"
Yeah.
So we did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun. We played it at the Cosmic Cafe, but we minored it instead.
Oh.
A whole different scenario.
I think this is demented.
A broken wheel on the bus.
I didn't know you
Yeah.
minored in bus driving. Yeah.
Yeah.
So recently you've returned back to performing for grown-ups. Could you
Yeah,
tell
I
us
mean, we
more
always
about
did
that?
a little bit, but we did. It does feel like recently we've kind of brought that back in a more significant way, and especially during the pandemic, we were doing almost an equal amount of kids and grown-up stuff online
Yeah.
and all, and because we could just decide what we were going to offer. And yeah, it's been nice. I mean, we like I said before, we have always done issue-related music for kids, but obviously there's some different kinds of issues sometimes that are appropriate. So,
Sure.
certain more partisan political things we would never do.
Unfortunately, yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. Well, I think it's definitely worth noting the difficulty you must be going through with the whole maskless controversy. I mean, I would think that it's even difficult just to talk to anyone in authority about it for fear you'll step on a toe or something.
Well, we don't worry too much about that part of it,
Yeah,
but
I don't really.
I mean, it is difficult, but I think we tend to talk about it.
The
Yeah,
places that
yeah,
we've gone, it hasn't really been controversial, the mask thing.
uh,
Um, it's definitely challenging to sing with a mask on.
oh, tell me about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Believe
like
it or
I've
not,
been, teaching now in a preschool, and I feel like at this point, even though, we've been vaccinated, now it sort of feels like with the Delta variant that we have to be more careful. So
yeah.
great. So what about a song?
Sure. Um, this is a song that I wrote recently, and it's people, you often hear people bemoaning the lack of civility these days, especially on social media, and I'm a little bit of two minds about that, because on the one hand, I agree that I think people should be respectful and civil to each other. Sometimes I think actually people in our country are maybe even a little too civil, though, that we put up with a lot of things that in other places they might be a little more up in arms about. But in any case, I do generally agree. So this song is about that idea about civility, etc. And I won't say what it's called because that's kind of a punchline. So, do you stay up late, have a drink or maybe three? Open up your laptop and scroll down your Facebook feed. Does your heart beat fast? Does the blood pound in your ears? Does your bluster hide your deep down inner fears? Do you kiss your mother with that mouth? Do you kiss your loved ones with those lips? Do the angry words you write, filled with venom, rage, and spite, spill out from your fingertips? When did everything get mean? When did everything go south? Clicking send before you blink, never stopping just to think to kiss your mother with that mouth. We hide behind devices, our hearts are all a Twitter, our characters are limited, we're petty and we're bitter. Inhibitions shrink and vanish with no trace. I bet you wouldn't dare to say that to my face. To kiss your mother with that mouth, to kiss your loved ones with those lips, do the angry words you write, filled with venom, rage, and spite, spill out from your fingertips? When did everyone get rude? Do you have to scream and shout? Clicking send before you blink, never stopping just to think to kiss your mother with that mouth. I would bet we all have done it. Jump headlong into a fight. Pandora's box carelessly open. We are so sure that we are right. Do you kiss your mother with that mouth? Do you hide behind sarcastic quips? Do the angry words you write, filled with venom, rage, and spite, spill out from your fingertips? When did everything get mean? When did everything go south? Hurling insults, calling names, shaming others with no shame. Do you kiss your mother with that mouth?
Yay! Wonderful.
Great.
So we are going to take a little break and we'll be back with Two of a Kind.
And now it's time for Going Out with Rusty and Jan.
So listen, we recently attended the Philadelphia Folk Song Society's virtual music festival. It was a little awkward at first, but once we got all of our virtual camp members together and on board, everybody had a pretty good time.
We thought the Folk Song Society did a tremendous job pulling this event together under such extraordinarily difficult circumstances.
It was just crazy. It went from day to day, week to week. Nobody knew what anybody was doing, but we all had fun.
Absolutely.
Some of you may wonder what it's like to attend a virtual music festival, since it's kind of a new phenomenon. In this particular case, all performances were live streamed and viewed in the comfort of your own home. There were multiple virtual stages, so you could choose which performance to watch. If there were more than one performance that you wanted to see happening at the same time, no problemo. The concerts were still available in archives for a few weeks beyond the festival.
On Saturday night, Rusty and I co-hosted the virtual campfire open mic with our good friend Charlie Miller. It was a fun night, and the winner of the open mic, Bunny Barnes, will have a chance to perform live and hopefully in person at next year's Philadelphia Folk Festival.
In the meantime, I'd give her a Google because she's really something to hear. She was
Absolutely.
quite impressive. But our favorite part was the virtual campsites. This was done using Zoom, and it simulated what it was like to camp and hang out with your friends at an actual festival. Our camp planned meals together so that we could spend some time catching up with each other. On Saturday, we had planned activities such as Zoom song circles with themes such as my favorite songs with the Pearlswigs, blues, traditional songs of England, Ireland, and Scotland, and songs of low self-esteem.
On Sunday, the members of our campsite each performed 20-minute sets. Here are some of the highlights of that.
'Cause I love you, I hope you understand. I positively love you. I'm glad to be your man. How you make me feel. What we have is real.
I still remember that lonesome whistle cry, traveling to dreamland to that freight train lullaby. Where is it going in the darkness of the night? Then I close my eyes under cold black skies, rocking side to side.
Radio silent still. There's a song in my head. A Jeanette and Steve original. Or maybe the Grateful Dead. Driver's side review mirror up alert. Coming on so much clearer. Some kid waved his foot to the floor. Trying to get to the shore.
So don't step past me as if I am not there. Don't shout at me as if I cannot hear. And don't be shocked if I take off my top to see if it's a fact. I've developed invisibility, 'cause that's just how you act.
Over it all, the hymns of the universe, sung by a blind photographer. She's in the hall, secretly beautiful, and the song is all for her. She's in the hall, secretly beautiful, and the song is all for her.
Well, I never was much of the marrying kind. Ask wife number 1 up to wife number 9. A no good lazy bum, that's what each one would say. Hey, hey. But from every frying pan I took in the head, to each fine lady I squired to bed, I don't regret a thing, wouldn't change a single day. No way.
Angel in darkness, night black is cold. I couldn't see her face, I could feel her in my soul. Her face in shadow in the darkness said she loved the song I wrote.
Well, that was certainly fun, wasn't it, Jan?
Absolutely. And it was nice to not have to deal with the weather elements or the dreaded spotted lanternfly.
Kill the bug. But here's to hoping that next year's festival will be in person.
Wouldn't that be great? But now it's time to find out what's cooking at Malelani Cafe. It's time for
George's Corner. He knows what I like. When I come home from work and my back's all tight, I sits down at the table and he serves it up real hot. Get myself excited just a sniffing around that pot. Homemade soup. All right. Well, you know, Jan, we're really lucky. We have our good friend today, George, who's going to give us a little idea about what is moussaka.
Yes, George, what is moussaka?
Well, thanks, Rusty and Jan, and I'm so excited for you guys to be moving up in the world with your radio show and everything. So moussaka is a traditional Greek dish that's got ground beef, eggplant, potatoes, and bechamel sauce, and it's made in a big flat pan, and it's made in a big sheet, so usually we cut out pieces. But it's kind of like shepherd's pie, but it's a Greek version. It's layered, and it goes eggplant, potato, and then you got ground beef that we season, and then it's topped with the bechamel sauce, which is made with flour, butter, and milk. And we also have other versions of that we make with pasta and stuff like that. So it's definitely a Greek thing, moussaka, and the way you cook it.
Okay, so it's shepherd's pie or it's Greek lasagna. Is that about right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I know I've had it. It's lovely. My mouth is watering as you're describing it. So, what are your memories of Jenny and David, who are our guests this month?
Oh yeah, so I was lucky and fortunate enough to actually host them, and I've seen them perform a few times, and they're a wonderful couple that definitely that I see on Facebook and stuff too. I love their feeling and vibe, and their music is great. They definitely are folk singers, and they do a lot of like cool covers and stuff. And I've had the pleasure of seeing them live at Malelani.
Yes, and so how is the music program over there going in general right now?
Yeah, so it's going great. We, obviously going through the summer. The summer's wrapping up. We have our open mic on Thursday, and then we have music on the weekend, and it's going well attended. And we're definitely trying to move forward, support musicians as much as we can. And I think, we did a lot of virtual stuff this year that was great. And I think that really helped for us to keep the music going, is being able to do virtual. And then when we were able to do in-house, we started to do. So doing a hybrid was something cool. Awesome. And the persistence of musicians is very important, so. And that's why I'm here today, to support music and food. Those things go together, so. And I think that the music is so important. We have to keep it going.
Absolutely.
Yes,
and you've always been such a supporter of the arts in that community. So
yeah, and to go even a little further is to be a community resource for all things artistic and music. I mean, you've done so much more for people who just need to express themselves somehow, and they know they can go to Malelani, and they'll be welcome there.
Not to mention the food is great.
Yeah.
All right, George. Until next time.
Till next time, my friend.
Thank you, Rusty and Jan.
No problem,
Thank
buddy.
you, George. Bye.
And welcome back for the second half of our interview with Two of a Kind.
So with your previous song about to kiss your mother with that mouth, and since you're a bit of an activist, um, I always felt that there was a period of political correctness where the two sides, I'll put it that way, uh, did not want to insult or be inappropriate and kind of kept feelings to themselves, which eventually kind of broke out through the gate. I don't know if you feel the same way.
I actually kind of feel like, I mean, political correctness was used in different ways, I think, by different people. So the first way we first heard it was sort of within the progressive side, sort of making fun of ourselves, making fun of each other in a
Good
gentle
point.
way, like, oh yeah, we're being politically correct, but it wasn't really like a major criticism. But then I think it really got taken up by the right as a way of trying to silence questioning and being
Yes.
sensitive. And so that's the way I kind of see it, is like, oh, you're just being politically correct because you're saying that what I just said was racist, or and
Uh, yeah. So does that put the responsibility of finding a middle ground on us and not being so politically correct and actually perhaps talking to people even though they don't agree with you?
well, I definitely think it's good for us to talk to each other whether we agree. I guess I don't really look for middle ground. I sort of feel like, if one side says 2 + 2 = 4 and the other side says 2 + 2 = 6, it doesn't mean the answer is 5. It's like sometimes one side's right.
Totally understand that. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes,
But
exactly.
I think that the song was really more getting at the fact that when we're communicating via the
Social media,
internet
especially.
and social media, some of those filters that we have when we're face to face aren't there. And so
Mhm, mhm.
people can tend to get really rude, even if they
Sure.
wouldn't say that to somebody in their face.
Right. It definitely
Yes.
encourages, I think, that same thing like when people are in their cars. I mean, the things that people do to each other when they're in their cars, they would never do if they were like standing in line next to each other or something. There's something about the distance. So I think that's
Yeah.
the thing that social media unfortunately encourages.
Yeah. Which raises the question, where do we go at this point? But I guess we'll see.
That's another whole interview.
Exactly.
Yes.
We'll
So,
come again.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us about your the adult classes that you've been teaching at Temple University and Cheltenham Township Adult School?
Well, sure. So yeah, I've been really enjoying. I mentioned I used to be a teacher of kids, and I've kind of not been doing that, and we've been performing. But I've gotten back into teaching adult music appreciation classes, mostly for adults. And for a while they were in person. Recently they've all been online. I'm probably going to do both once things can be in person. And they're generally either about eras, like I've done music of the 50s, music of the 60s, music of the 70s. I plan to get more recent as well, but so far a lot of my students are older, so it's a harder sell after you get past the
Sure.
70s.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
We go through the same problem at when we do our nursing homes. It used to be a much older clientele. Now all they want to hear is Frank Sinatra. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, and and I'm a big advocate that there's great music in all times. I know there's people who love to be like,
Absolutely.
oh, there's never been any great music since the 60s, and I love
Yeah.
60s music. That's often my favorite, but
Right.
I really think there's always been great music, uh, and so part of my motivation in teaching the classes often actually is to try to broaden people's familiarity and appreciation of things. And I do things about classical music as well, and
Uh-huh.
about political music, and about concepts like musical fusions and hybrids. And I have a lot of fun. I spend way too much time preparing, as Jenny will very freely tell you, compared to how much I get paid. But
Yes.
love it.
It's a labor
I
of
hear
love,
you.
that's for sure.
But as most musicians will say, it's not about the money, but taking care of the expenses is nice.
Yeah, yeah. You got to have some balance, I think, that way.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So Jenny, I don't know if you knew that I was a registered nurse for 30 years.
Oh, really?
So yeah, and you have a special hospital program. Is it the Pickleberry Pie Hospital Concerts? Can you tell us about that?
Sure. So, this organization, Pickleberry Pie, has been around for a long time. It actually started as a radio program out in California. And we started performing at hospitals before we were really involved, with the organization. And so I then at one point became the Mid Atlantic coordinator. It's a national program. And then the person who founded it and who had been running it for a long time wanted to step down or step away a little bit. She's still on the board. And so I became the executive director in 2017.
Wow.
And so I've been running this program. And what it is we send musicians to hospitals to sing for kids. And we also work in special needs facilities as well. Now, of course, this last year and a half has been very challenging, as it has been for many people. So we've had to switch to virtual programs, and not all the hospitals have been able to do that. So we've been doing things like doing Zoom room visits. So we'll have the nurse or a child life person bring a computer around, and we'll sing to individual kids.
Oh, wow.
We've also been doing in some hospitals where they have television that they broadcast, like an in-house TV that they broadcast to all the rooms. So we'll have our performers do a program that gets broadcast to the kids in the rooms. So there's a lot of different ways that we've been doing it. And we even have a robot in one place that can go around to the different rooms.
Oh, wow. A robot. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Has a little screen for instead of its head. So like if the performers are, it can go into the room without somebody carrying it. Basically, it's
I love that idea.
Control the robot from remotely. So
And it's fun for the kids too, probably.
It's really interesting how similar our experiences are, even though we're at different ends of the spectrum. I think it'd be wonderful to do a program with you that would include kids and seniors in the same time. I've seen that interaction before, and that's really amazing. But
yeah, we have done that before. We have done
I'm
intergenerational
sure, yeah.
programs, and sometimes we've done things like that when it's like a grandparents' day at a senior facility or something. Like
right.
that.
Oh, that's great.
We really
Yeah.
enjoy that, and we have actually done some stuff for seniors too. And I don't think as much as you have, but we have
Yeah.
enjoyed that as well.
we do the whole spectrum.
Yeah, one thing
Yeah,
that we really
obviously. Yeah.
One thing that we really love about doing it for kids compared to seniors is that we usually have a better idea of how much they're liking the program while we're doing the program.
Right.
Kids are very forthright about their
Oh, yeah.
opinions
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
no filters. And sometimes with seniors, we aren't sure we're going over well until afterwards, and they come and talk to us. So
I know, right?
Yeah.
Same thing.
And I will say that in terms of the hospital programs, I mean, it's such a meaningful thing to do because you can
Oh,
really,
yeah.
and sometimes you don't know until afterwards the impact that you've had. But
Yeah.
we'll hear from child life people or the nurses and stuff that, oh, this person, was really hasn't smiled for months. They've been in the
Right.
hospital and they haven't smiled.
It
And
happens.
they smiled for you guys, or
Yeah.
something that happens that's really amazing.
there's a
Yeah.
lot.
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm very lucky. When I retired from nursing, I was able to give up my career, but I was able to keep my patients. So it's a population that I'm very glad to be a part of.
Got rid of the things you didn't like about nursing, kept the things you did.
There you
So,
go. There you go.
so rumor has it that the two of you have been writing a musical. That's exciting. And can you tell us more about it?
Sure. Well, we actually wrote one musical before,
I
which
thought
was
you
for
did,
kids.
yeah.
But this one is more for adults and for, maybe teenagers as well.
Middle school.
Yeah, it's called Hidden, and it is about Ruth Cap Hartz, who is a real life person who we know who lives here in the Philadelphia area. And when she was very little, from 4 to 7 years old, she was a hidden child as a Jew in occupied France,
Wow.
in World War II. And so the story we find very inspiring because it's a little bit like the Anne Frank story, but that ends very tragically. And in this case, she survived. And so it's very much about allies and the people who risked their lives to save Jews during that time. And we feel a lot of resonances with things recently, with the treatment of immigrants in our country, and the whole lot of ways in which we've been seeing parallels and So we've been working on it for a while, but kind of slowly. And next week we're going to go on a self-imposed writing retreat in the Finger Lakes and just work on it for a whole week
Nice.
and do very little else.
One of the
Nice.
things that we got to do that was really exciting and very helpful for the musical as well is in 2019 we went to France and we met up with Ruth and her family and the family that rescued her. So
Wow.
we were able to do interviews and we got to see the places where she lived and where her family lived. So that really made a big impact on us and is definitely going to be, part of the stuff that we incorporate.
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that, we run across young people who are getting involved in music and they say, well, what do I have to do? You're an example of just do it. If you got an idea, run with it. Now I'm sure that your lives have been changed by the pandemic, perhaps in some good ways. I know that we wouldn't be doing this interview with you right now had it not been for that. So it's a very unusual time that we live in, and I guess we'll have to see how it turns out from here.
Yeah, sometimes good things come out of bad things.
Yeah.
So
I think there's a lot of silver linings, and I think one of them, like you pointed out, I mean, the technology that so many of us have been forced to learn how to use.
Exactly.
We may be able to do more of a combination of the things we used to do
Oh,
and
yeah.
that we've been doing, but I think in the end that could be a win-win. That there could be a lot of things we can do that we weren't able to do before. And I mean, one thing we have some fans in India. We've been singing for kids in an orphanage in Uganda. We never
Exactly.
would have
Yeah.
had those opportunities if it wasn't for the pandemic, really. So
Right,
at least
right.
I don't think we would have.
Well, I know we've been running a virtual open mic over the last year, and we've developed friendships with people all around the country and in Ireland and such. And we can't stop being virtual now. We can't go
it's not
back to
going
our old
anywhere.
open mic, because
Yeah.
we can't give up on those people.
Our virtual
So,
mic, our open mic is now a hybrid. So
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah,
I
I
think
was
we're
thinking
going to
about
stay
that.
that way. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd like to do another one,
Yeah, that would
sometime.
be
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that there will be a lot of those kinds of hybrid things. I mean, we recently did the first in-person pickleberry pie visit in a facility in Voorhees, New Jersey, and they had a bunch of the kids come out in wheelchairs to their kind of driveway, and we sang kind of far away from them, but where we were in the same general space. But then they also set up a laptop to Zoom it for the kids who couldn't come out because of
Great.
compromised immune system things or for whatever reason. So those kinds of making the best of the technology, I think in those situations is really great.
And to keep moving. We know people who were hit with the technology crunch a year ago who said, well, that's it, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I don't know how to do it. And it wasn't easy to get everybody undistorted, but somehow we got through it. And I have to feel for those people who gave up on themselves because it was just too difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and some people thought that and then changed their mind. Like when we didn't know how long it was going to be, like some of my students when my adult classes got moved online said, I'm not doing this. And then a few months later, they were signing up for the online classes because they.
what choice did you have?
Exactly. But if you thought it was going to be 3 weeks, I could understand, well, I'm not going to put the time into learning this because everything's going to go back to normal, but then it didn't.
Little did we know.
Yeah, Jan and I wrote a song called what was it?
Social distance blues.
Social Distance Blues, and we made it a point to play it as much as we could that first month for fear that it would no longer be relevant to hear later. But we were kind of wrong.
Yeah, well, Now I want to know: when you performed it, did you stand 6 feet apart from each other?
We would have preferred that, but we didn't. Yeah.
Good one. So anyway, what about another song?
So we're going to sing a song from the musical that we're writing, Hidden. And this song, I'll just give you a little bit of context for it. So at one point, Ruth was with her family, her parents, just her and her parents, and they were being hidden in a basement of somebody's house. and things were really getting dangerous. And so they decided that they needed to send her off to an orphanage, and so that she would pretend to be a little French girl, French Catholic girl. So I was imagining the difficulty of having to make that decision, and from the mother's point of view, what that must have been like for her. And so this is a song that was the mother singing to her daughter, whose name was Renee, in at that time. So. I give you the sun and a head full of dreams. I give you the moon and the stars up above. Sending you away is the hardest thing I've ever done, but I do it out of love. I know you may not understand what I'm about to do, but you have to stay strong inside and know that I'm with you. I know I have to stop these thoughts, banish them from my mind. But what if everything goes wrong? This haunts me all the time. I give you the sun and a head full of dreams. I give you the moon and the stars up above. Sending you away is the hardest thing I've ever done, but I do it out of love. I never imagined it would come down to this. I have to believe we will prevail. I'm feeling like this darkness keeps holding me down, but I know we cannot fail. I give you the sun and a head full of dreams. I give you the moon and the stars up above. Sending you away is the hardest thing I've ever done, but I do it out of love. Splitting up our family is the safest thing to do. I have to trust these strangers that they'll take good care of you. I'll keep the hope inside my heart that we can be together again. I'll hold you in my arms so tight, my love will never end. I give you the sun and a head full of dreams. I give you the moon and the stars up above. Sending you away is the hardest thing I've ever done, but I do it out of love. Yes, I do it out of love.
That was lovely, just lovely.
What a sweet little song.
Yes, and isn't that a song for the age? I'll tell you. So I have to say thank you so much for coming on the show. You're really kicking off the new chapter in our lives over at Philly Cam, and I can't think of anybody who would be better to start off with than you guys.
Oh,
I
that's
mean, you're
very
out there,
sweet.
you're doing it. You
We're
know,
honored,
so
we're honored, and we're happy for you that this is very exciting that you have.
it's
this
very
show.
exciting
And scary.
and scary and very scary. So,
But one last question for you. Where would our viewers go to find more information about you?
Well, we do have a website, which if you remember that we're called Two of a Kind, is pretty easy to remember. It's twofofakind.com. And you got to spell out the two, TWO, as opposed to just doing the numeral. But yeah, that's probably the best place. We're also on Facebook and some other places, but the sort of the place where almost all the information is that we actually are going to have a website for this musical Hidden the Musical. We have the domain name, but we haven't gotten website set up. But
Okay.
anyway, yeah, we're working towards that. And one other thing about the musical I forgot to mention is that we're making a little movie, a little documentary, kind of including our trip to France and a lot about Ruth's story.
An interview with her.
Right, and interviews with some of the people in France and everything too. So that's something that's been in the works off and on too.
Well, we really hope that you'll preview it or at least show some of it on the Rusty and Jan show.
That would be
great.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. It
Thank
really
you.
was.
Thank
So,
you.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. We have an exciting episode for November, including an interview with Jack Scott and Ingrid Rosenbach of Last Chance.
It's your last chance. And much, much more. You never know what's going to come out with the Rusty and Jan show.
We'd like to leave you with a song that Rusty wrote at the tender age of 17.
This is called That's Not Me. Sands of time, they're slipping fast. And God, you know it just won't last. Think about what I must be. If I conform, I can't be free. But oh, that's not me. Can't wear color and a tie. Because for me it's just a lie. I'd rather be on the road again, just trying to be everybody's friend. But oh, that's not me. That's not me. Why can't you see? If you don't like the way I am, then let me be. Oh, let me be. Don't tell me about that life you built. It's just a way to hide your guilt. 'Cause you remember that dreadful day when you gave up and threw your life away. But oh, that's not me. That's not me. Why can't you see? You don't like the way I am, then let me be. Oh, let me be. So now I set out in my youth, the road is rough in search of truth. So all you people just walk on by, and in your sleep I hear you cry. But oh, that's not me. Oh, that's not me.